Good morning and welcome to Jasiri. Thank you so much for joining us right here on the show that brings you bold, insightful, and courageous conversations. And today we're going to, I think I might say, we're going to the home of one of the places that brought us the word Jasiri. If you don't know, Jasiri is actually a Swahili word that means bold, courageous, and brave. And in the past year plus that this show has been on air, we've done exactly that in delivering you bold, courageous, and brave discussions. And today is no different because this is something that many people are seeing happening, but many people are not talking about. But first, don't forget that we are News Central. You can join the conversation via our social media pages. We are at News Central TV. Now, this discussion is one that is happening across the continent. It's happening across the world, but it's particularly a conversation among women. This conversation challenges everything we thought we knew about marriage, commitment, and what happens after decades together. A recent article titled "Gray and Gone" explores a growing trend: women leaving long-term marriages after 30 or 40 years. These are not young couples navigating early struggles. These are women who have spent a lifetime in their marriages and are now choosing to walk away. So why is this happening? Is it a search for freedom, a reaction to years of emotional neglect, or a sign that marriage expectations have changed? And on the other side, how are their husbands handling this shift? Were they oblivious to their wives' dissatisfaction, or did they assume things would never change? Today, we're unpacking this emotional, societal, and psychological conversation and the factors driving this late life separation. Now, joining us is the author of the article, Dorcas Muga-Odumbe. She is the gender editor for the Nation Media Group in Kenya. Dorcas, all the way here in Lagos, Nigeria, we welcome you to Jasiri. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it and I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic. Let's kick off.
Yeah. All right, so let's kick off, Dorcas. So this all started for you when a video of an elderly man struggling to cook for himself went viral online. Now, in that video, he spoke about how his children had taken their mother away, leaving him to fend for himself. What was it about the reactions to the viral video that sent you into looking into this area of relationships that many never really explore?
Thank you very much. So first of all, the video was actually heartbreaking. I sympathized with the man who was cooking, and I'm glad you have the video. Quite heartbreaking, but truly what is happening. But what prompted me to write this article was the response that it got. It actually, that article performed so well on our platform, and the response that it got, and the gender divide that came with it, so that women's comments often contained unknowing phrases like, "This is something that they've experienced. There's always more to the story. I wonder what happened during the 40 years that this man was married to his wife." While the men's comments were most of the time very defensive and sort of blaming the woman for. We need to find out about this man. Fortunately, there's someone who commented on that video who happened to know the man, and she said that this man was very cruel to his wife when the wife was still with him. So for many years, the wife persevered. Then eventually, now when she was an adult, the children had observed how the father treated the mother, and they took her away. So the man is there lamenting that he's been abandoned. But when you look keenly at the background of his life, the history, and what it was like, you sympathize, but at the same time, if you look at the other side, the wife and what her feelings are and what her experience was, then you tend to agree with her. Although this is not what you want life to end up being when we're in our 40s, in our golden years. Yeah.
So, Dorcas, this article highlights the rising number of older women that are leaving long-term marriages, as we've established, and this is something that we've not seen, or we're not used to seeing across the continent until now, but something that is happening more and more as we are seeing it now. Now, for the benefit of the viewing audience, can you take us through, now, we've heard one of the stories, and I want us to understand, basically, is this the same story across board, or what are some of the other stories that have been shared with you in terms of why this is happening? We've also established that mistreatment, especially of the wife, or the women is one of the major reasons why women are leaving their marriages at such, old age. But are there any other reasons that were shared with you?
Okay, let me just try. I think my network is a bit shaky.
But did you get the question though?
Ask the question again. I missed a bit of it.
Okay, so
because of
basically,
network.
what are some other reasons that you have heard in terms of stories that have been told to you why women leave their marriages at such old age, aside the mistreatment that we've mentioned?
Oh. Of course, when we talk about mistreatment, we can look at it from, I think, 3 different perspectives. One, there are people who talked about serial infidelity. I even had young women writing to me and telling me that they experienced that with their parents. So infidelity, the parents, the wife enduring while raising their children. So we find that many describing their husbands having maintained multiple relationships openly, sometimes even having children outside their marriages. So infidelity stood out very strongly, and then domestic violence. We had people who were sharing devastating stories of physical, emotional, and even financial abuse that trapped many of them for all these decades. One woman actually described 37 years of hiding braces while her husband, because the husband was a prominent person, so she just had to persevere because of the children. But now that the children are successful, they're grown, they created a safe haven for her, and she therefore left. And emotional detachment, the absence of emotional attachment. You see, we in many of these relationships, men have traditionally been brought up, and that's the traditional way we saw men, that they're providers. So to them, as long as they're providing, their presence doesn't really matter. And the presence is not just physical, it's also emotional. So if he's not there, then there's not the emotional connection between him and his wife, and even the children lack. So the children grow knowing the mother, spending time with the mother, school meetings with the mother. When they go to church, it is the mother. The father comes home in the evening when the kids are asleep, leaves very early in the morning. Weekends he's away. If he's an unfaithful husband, then the weekend is a time to spend with his other women. So the wife never sees him emotionally, completely emotionally detached. The children only know the mother. Yeah, so I think those 3 aspects, where a woman says she just married her. In fact, there's one who told me, I married a name. I did not marry a man.
Wow.
So that because traditionally we acquire the name of the man.
Wow.
So marrying the name only carries the name, but the man is not there. And I thought that was quite profound.
It is.
So they're practicing loneliness when they're practically married. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, there's so many things that is very eye-opening, and it doesn't feel like it's old or it's new to us. It's just that we have never really acknowledged it. Maybe that's the difference. I just want to ask, because I know you've answered the question I would have asked about the emotional neglect, that do men really consider the emotional well-being of your wives very importantly in their marriages. But do you think that it is us in Africa who have allowed our men become spoiled? Or our mothers who are maybe for many things that were like lack of education, maybe lack of a business, or something they're doing to empower themselves? Because you found out in a lot of African families, the women were taking the back seat before. But now, the dynamics of marriages are changing. Our mothers that were stay-at-home moms have become career women. The men have become a little different for what they used to be. So there are a lot of indices that has changed. Would you say that is one of the fundamental things that has affected marriages across Africa? But before you answer, I'm just going to ask that you just keep thinking while we go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll take your response to the question. Very much for staying tuned with us. You're still on Jasiri, and you know we're at News Central TV all across all our platforms, and we're discussing something very different today. An article written by a Kenyan woman called Grey and Gone, and Dorcas Muga-Odumbe has been our guest, telling us more about this article and why she wrote it. Just before, thank you very much for staying with us, Dorcas. All right. I asked the question, is it that the marriages are changing? That the new age has come with new, a lot of things have changed in marriages presently. What used to be is no longer the norm. Yeah. Would you say that is what is happening to us in Africa? That women are beginning to open their eyes and they are opting to leave their marriages no matter the age they think they have been, and they are breaking that patriarchal hold that men have had for years, especially in Africa?
I would say yes and no. Because, okay, one, education has played a very big role, the girl-child empowerment. But when you read my article, we are talking about the older woman, and this older woman is probably a woman who is in early 60s, going to 70s. Of course, this women are the first generation, I guess, of the women who went to school. The women older than them, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, were never educated. But this is the first generation of women who went to school, and therefore they understand a bit of what their rights are. Secondly, these are women who probably had some sort of employment, not very good, but they're among the first ones to be employed. So they have their little savings somewhere, they have some pension that they're going to earn that will keep them going. But I would say that it's because of this empowerment that, okay, this empowerment is playing a part in the sense that the other mothers, the current ones who are living after 40 years, are the ones who persevered, not because they enjoyed or they loved the domestic violence, or it was okay for a man to beat me, it was okay for him to be unfaithful, it was okay for him to be emotionally detached. It is because there was this barrier, and the barrier was the financial freedom. If they had it, then they would have left. But here is a woman looking at her children and being able to bring them up and giving them a decent life. So they decide, okay, let me persevere. At the right time, I will leave. So these are women who, they left mentally many years ago, but just waiting for the right moment to do so. Now, coming to today's marriages and why they're breaking up. One, the woman is more independent financially. So she can pay her rent, she can pay her mortgage, she drives her car, she can put food on the table, she can take care of her children. While our men are still stuck in the traditional socialization, the way they were brought up, how our grandmothers or our grandparents lived with the traditional setup. So traditionally, women were framed primarily as caregivers. So the work was to sit at home and take care of the home, take care of the husband, as opposed to being equal partners. Today, when I wake up in the morning and I go to work, and my husband wakes up in the morning and goes to work, we're equal partners. So we need to actually play certain roles at an equal level. Number two, the men, I would even say that the men who are facing loneliness in old age, it's not because there are not enough, there are not enough women for them to marry today, but who is this woman who wants to be a caregiver, okay, and not a partner?
Yeah.
So today's woman will not sit there like the one who is living at 60, at 70. Because that one who's living at 60 and 70 is economically, there's that economic barrier that made her not live at that time. So today's woman, if she's 28, she's 30, economically empowered, will decide this, I cannot take anymore, I will leave because I'm able to take care of myself. The man is left behind with this same traditional mindset, you know, and forgetting, because in the traditional mindset, the men assume that women get married to get that financial support. But that's not the case. A woman wants that connection, the emotional connection. So it's beyond the financial support. There's also friendship, there's also that connection that one needs. Intimacy that is genuine, not doing it because for society to see that I am so-and-so's husband or I'm so-and-so's wife. The response is that God, women are telling me that they have this husband who will be at home, yes, he's physically present, but emotionally so detached. His mind is so far. You're with him in bed, but he's not there with you. He's there physically, but his mind is very much away. He is there for the kids. He sees the kids, he knows their names, but ask him about the child's dreams, what the child dreams about becoming in the future. They have no clue. So the empowerment, yes, has also played a part. Yeah. But what I want, I tell these people all the time, is to remove the issue of women being financially disabled, and that's they keep looking for men who will support them. Today's woman is not looking for that. Today's woman is looking for a partner, an equal partner. Yeah.
Man, you reminded me of so many things, Dorcas. We spoke about it. One video from a talk show host in the U.S. who was asking fathers about the names of their children's best friend, their age, their class, the name of their teacher, the name of their doctor, if they had allergies, the size of their shoes, and so many, even birthdays, and the next age the child was going to be. Unfortunately, so many men failed. And if we did that test here on the continent, we might finally actually have the same result. You know, I think Jasiri should do that test. So, Dorcas, I want to ask something, because you're talking about something, you called it the presence paradox in the article, and that's about being physically present but not being emotionally present, not being available for your family and your wife and your children. But in terms of all of this, a lot of these men sometimes will say they don't know why she left. They don't understand what it is. They might say that there is a big argument about a plate being left in the sink or a dirty sock being left somewhere else, and they'll say that, is that why she left? So I really need to ask you, in terms of these conversations and the women you've spoken to and the responses from the men, because you had to do a follow-up article, because it was really a very big divide down the gender lines as to what people thought. Why does it seem that the men are always surprised when wives leave? Are they missing the signs of dissatisfaction, or do they just simply ignore them because there's an expectation that the woman, the wife, the mother of the children is not going anywhere? Not necessarily because she doesn't have anywhere to go, but she's not going anywhere because our societies have said wives don't leave. So what's the issue here? How are the men not seeing the signs and the handwriting on the wall?
It's very interesting that they actually get genuinely shocked when their wives leave, because they've misinterpreted decades of accommodation as contentment. You see, the woman staying for all these years, they think she's happy, they think she's okay, but they fail to recognize that what looks like acceptance was often resignation. So the woman decides, let me stay quiet, let me look like I'm in agreement with everything he's doing. And then those, the occasional outbursts, sometimes once in a while when it gets too much, an isolated incident where the woman releases the pressure. The men think, it's just once in a while and she'll be okay, she'll be there. So they actually even get confused by the timing, because now this woman has persevered all these years. So why would she leave after 40 years? If she was unhappy all along, why was she waiting for the 40 years to leave? But what they don't understand is that many women make calculated decisions, to endure difficult marriages, raising children, especially when the financial options they have are limited, or they have very little, which will not give the children the kind of life they want their children to live. So the departure is normally not sudden, and I think I alluded to this earlier. It is a culmination of a plan over the years. So every year, the woman will be acting, but at the back of her mind, she knows that one day, at the right time, I will just take off when the conditions are right, when my children are grown and they are able to take care of themselves. Then I will leave. So then that, and of course the men, they get genuinely shocked. when this happens. Because all this year, the woman has given them this facade of she's okay. Even when you beat her, that domestic violence, she's okay. When you sleep out, she's okay. She's not okay. She's just calculating and waiting for the right moment. Yeah.
I think what you said about calculating.
And again, babe.
I think, sorry to interrupt you, I'm just adding to what you just said, that I think that waiting for the right moment can never be understood by men. Because this waiting for the right moment can span years, decades. People are living marriages of 40 years. People are celebrating, oh, this is our 40th wedding anniversary, and the woman is planning a day after to just go. And they don't understand. It's even been suggested that polygamy is a path to secured elder care for the men. Yeah, I mean, it's a problematic take for me, but I'd like to hear what you think of that suggestion that polygamy, polygamy, yeah, it's a sure banker to secured care for men. What do you think about it?
It's laughable, and it's quite a problematic assumption, I think. First of all, it frames women primarily as caregivers. You see, and many men who are commenting on that were saying, let her go, you can marry another one. So marrying another means you need someone to come and take care of you. It's not a partner you're looking for. So instead of looking at the woman as an equal partner, it suggests that the woman's value just lies in what services that she's going to provide than a mutual companionship. Number two, it is actually a misdiagnosis of the problem. These men are not facing the loneliness in old age because there are not enough women willing to marry them. They're facing this loneliness because they failed to build a relationship over the years. They fail to build meaningful connections with their wives and even with their children, and that's why the children will comfortably take their mother away without feeling anything for their father. Okay. Then number three, they assume that the young woman of today is just sitting there and is interested in marrying a significant. Of course, it's happening. Women marrying significantly men. Men who are significantly older than them, years and years older than them. But not all of them are doing that. Actually, majority of them are not ready to marry these very old men for financial support because, after all, they're empowered. This is an outdated notion. Women gain education and economic opportunities today. We have women who are, majority of them are employed or self-employed, so they have an income. So they are not interested in marrying this way older man for financial support. And number four, it also, it ignores a very important issue, that is the skills gap. That if a man hasn't developed emotional intelligence and relationship skills to maintain one healthy relationship in the long term, then adding another one will not make any difference. I didn't do it in the 40 years. So this girl is coming into my life, this 25-year-old and I'm 70 coming into my life. Will I be able to give that emotional connection with her? Because in the first place, they don't even understand what this emotional connection is. So who says that this younger woman will come and sit and bear the same life that the woman who left did? If anything, this younger woman is more alert, is more self-aware, and she will not take it.
I'm actually really enjoying this conversation, and how I like to see it is women are now doing what men have always done, and men are okay with that, but in addition, they want them to also do what women have always done. And that is enabled by society. Talking about the biggest enablers, let's talk about reactions, Dorcas. Now, after the article came out, you were accused of trying to break people's homes and encourage women to leave their husbands. You were called toxic feminist, frustrated divorcee, and other ridiculous names. But what you found was that women overwhelmingly agreed with you and men largely disagreed with you. What do these responses, mainly straight down the gender divide, tell you?
It actually tells me that men, and to me it's like we live in in two different worlds, yet we're in the same world. You're attacking the messenger instead of taking time to understand the message that she has shared. I took I'll call them insults because some, actually I didn't even share some because they're extremely personal, even from people who not really know me, happening in society today. And we must accept that it is happening. Oh, I like the fact that you even have some of the responses. When you attack the messenger, it means this is a conversation that we need to have. It means, and we need to have it especially for our current younger generation of men, so that they're able to lead their lives in such a way that by the time they get to this age of 70 retirement, then they're retiring with their friend, with their partner, someone they can spend their golden years with, as opposed to being left lonely, and then this young woman whom you think will be there for you will not be there. The children saw you mistreat their mother over the years, and so they're happy with the mother being away from you. But it's a conversation that needs to be had and needs to be had today. Otherwise, the institution of marriage will not hold.
All right, Dorcas, let's take a quick time out now. We do have some more questions because this is a bit of a personal conversation for you. You mentioned that in the article, and we'd like to get into that. And also, what lessons are there for today's generation? We speak a lot about the fact that many prize the quantity of their parents' marriages versus the quality. They focus on the duration versus the actual quality of the marriages that are being had. And we'll get into that as we start wrapping up this conversation. So Dorcas, please stay with us. We'll be right back after this. This is Jasiri. We'll be right back. She wants to be in peace.
I remember my principal in secondary school, she used to have look very strict looking. She left her marriage of how many years? Is it 50 years or 45 years? And we're all shocked. But for me, I think from that young age, I was always admiring her. Like, people fear, where do you go to? People say, where do you go?
And then when you move forward, it rubs against your top.
Oh, okay.
What do you mean, where do you go to?
Where do you go? And then they'll just marry another wife.
Well,
because you have no idea is someone to just be a caregiver, to just warm your bed.
Saying that, these children forget that they will age one day. If you do not build a bond, you cannot reap where you didn't sow. It's not I'm a father, you drop money, your child wants to say something, you shut him up by, do you know I'm your father, you cannot talk to your father, like, no. Tomorrow, children are pushing their mothers to go.
The fact that
mommy, go. Since we knew you, you've not been happy. You've been crying. You've been
given.
Are you not the one that keeps talking about it?
Why do you think that there are women who are constantly doing omogo? Even after the child is 5, they're rotating from child to child.
So they're clamoring for grandchildren, not because they want them, they just want freedom.
Oh, they want them.
Freedom, but I saw one episode in The Resident. Can't you remember when she brought her husband and she just told them that, please admit him, I can't do this anymore, I want to rest. They had to keep her in the hospital just because.
And the husband was like,
where would you go? You were together. I said, I know. I want to take some time off. I want to rest. Being a caregiver is not an easy task.
And so is it that the women in their old age don't need caregiving? Can you imagine that?
Yes. No, they assume that you'll be able to take care of yourself. That you are their primary.
My dad does not know what he's entering. They're supposed to go to the US for a year. My sister has already warned him and she's told him. Because right now my mom is the one who's still kidney. He'll fall down, he'll kidney because she's the one rushing around everything. I told her, Auntie, when they came to Lagos, my father said he had heart palpitations. I said, let me go and call doctors. I'll take you to, no, unless he went to Bumasho. I said, Mommy, sit down here. She said, no, she has to follow her husband. I said, you're still following him. It's okay. She has told my dad that if he says he wants to return, she'll change his tickets. But as my mother, she'll do her 1 year. You'll go, and this one, he'll come to Lagos. It's not in my house. You're still watching Jasiri on a conversation that is even creating a lot of conversation behind the scenes as well, looking at grey and gone, an increasing trend, I would say, across the continent. About primarily this one focuses on an article written by the gender editor of the Nation Media Group of Kenya, Dorcas Muga-Odumbe, and she's taking us through the article and the reactions to it, where she highlighted the fact that women who have been in marriages of 30, 40, even 50 years are now choosing to walk away. In fact, some ways, children are even helping their mothers leave their marriages. Now, Dorcas, just before the break, I mentioned the fact that this seems to be sort of a personal, I guess, journey to you. And you've talked about the fact that your the Nation is now doing a wider, deep dive investigation into this trend. I'd like to know why this is a personal thing for you, Dorcas.
Thank you. So, as a widow and a mother raised in 2 sons, I actually approached this topic. I still do approach it from multiple perspectives because I'm very familiar with the joys and challenges of marriage because I've been married. I've experienced marriage full cycle. And I've witnessed firsthand how different approaches to marriage yield very different outcomes years later. And then my work as an editor actually has given me the front row seat to engage with relationship dynamics across generations. But my personal state as a mother gives me this particular agency. Especially a mother to adults, the young men who I'm raising and will someday build their own families, and I want them to be equipped to the insights available to the previous generation, so that I wouldn't want them to find themselves in the situation of an old man that was seen in that video. So let's say that such old men, and my article was actually okay. The video I saw is what broke the camel's back because it's an experience I have witnessed myself from family, from relatives, from friends. I have living experiences that I can see even today. So when I see such men lonely and isolated, I see potential futures I want my sons to avoid. And it's not about demonizing men or telling people that marriage is bad. Marriage is a beautiful thing. And I think the way God created it, it's a very beautiful thing. It's just that humanity messed it up. So we need to, I would want the young men, for example, now my sons and the young men who are their age, to not to live this kind of life or not to end up in this situation. So we need to identify the patterns that lead to this unnecessary suffering at the end of their lives. So having experienced loss again, I lost my husband, and so I understand profoundly that time together as a couple is very, very precious. And it's not just time together as a couple being there physically next to each other. I think I talked about the emotional connection earlier on, and this makes it all more heartbreaking to see a couple waste these decades of emotional disconnection when it was possible to have a better, deeper fulfillment earlier on. So this intersection of personal experience and my professional work, professional observation, gives me a very unique vantage point. I can actually observe and see, I've experienced this, and I know what this can lead to. Of course, it's not unbiased. No human perspective is truly unbiased, but one that is informed by multiple angles or the same fundamental questions about what makes relationships endure and thrive. And so it's my sons, and the young men of the same age that I would love to see prosper. I wouldn't want them to lead this life. But this lonely man specifically in that video is leading, and many other men. So it's not an attack on the men. In fact, when they called me a homebreaker, I thought to myself, wait a minute, am I breaking homes, or I'm just making an effort to make the homes better, to have better marriages? So when we say till death do us part, then let that death literally do this couple's part. Yeah.
Oh my Lord! I had a Tolu.
Okay, quick.
Okay. So quickly, I had to ask this. Let's talk about the modern marriage landscape that you wrote about in the article. You said it demands a complete reimagining of masculinity. What's so modern about marriage? Some would even argue that we're attacking men and, men are always a problem. But how do we reimagine masculinity?
How do we reimagine masculinity? It means giving men more options. It means not taking anything away. So it's about freedom. It's not about criticizing. Traditional masculinity has often limited men to being providers and protectors who should not show any emotion except anger. When they get angry, and now we're talking about domestic violence and so forth. Traditionally, men were told that talking about feelings was weak, asking for help was shameful, and their worth was mainly making money and being in charge. But I think a better approach, or what I call a healthier approach, would mean that a man can be both strong and gentle. A man can be a provider and a nurturer. That a man can also be a leader and a partner at the same time. Head of the house or head of the home, but also my partner. So in everyday life, this looks like men who talk openly with their partners about their feelings. If they're hurting, then let their partners, or their wives for that matter, know that they're hurting. They need to take direct responsibility for their children, not just helping out. And helping out means, in fact, it reminds me of a conversation I had with colleagues the other day, and I was telling them, a man can be the provider of everything, paying fees, paying the mortgage, buying the food, but he hands over the money to the wife to go and pay the fees. So the kids know it's the mother who does it. They don't know whether it's the money came from the father or not. When the mother is going for shopping, she carries the kids along. They think it's the mother who did it. So apart from just taking care of them, you need to also help out, okay? So direct responsibility for childcare is about helping out. Is there time spent with the kids when the wife needs to go out, for example, with the girls, just to have some me time with the girls? Can they spend time with the kids when the mother is at work? Can they just decide that this Sunday afternoon is my day to spend with the kids? Okay. It also looks like valuing their relationships as much as their careers, because there are some men who have actually put their careers first, which is okay, because their intention is to give their families a decent life. But is it worth losing that relationship? Losing the relationship for the career? That's a choice they need to make. Okay. It's also about men asking for help when they need it. Okay? Many men would rather die without pain. They need help, but they'll not talk. It can be an emotional issue. It can just be a social issue, a financial issue, but they'll never ask for the help because of the socialization that they've grown up with. So again, it also looks like men who earn respect through character, not just their positions. So it's really not new or modern. So throughout history, men have naturally balanced these qualities. Even our polygamous great-grandparents, you could say, if you can recall so well, or if you maybe read history, or if you experienced a polygamous traditional family, even if the man had 5 wives, he was expected actually to take care of each one of them and even spend time, spend some time to spend with the family of each one. So there's really nothing new. So what is changing is that we are now recognizing these traits as valuable and not as weaknesses. So traditionally they were seen as weaknesses. A man should not cry. A man should not open up when there's an issue. But these are valuable. It's very, very important. They mean so much. In fact, studies have shown that men who have actually accepted this and have this emotional connection, they live a healthier life. They are happier. Their children do better. Their marriages last longer. I mean, their marriages last to the end. So it's really not a weakness, and that's the message we should be sharing out there.
All right.
It is a very valuable thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
when we allow men to express their full humanity, everyone wins. Everyone wins, especially
I like
the
that.
men
Everyone
themselves.
Their full humanity, the full range of what it means to be human. Dorcas Muga-Odumbe, the gender editor, Nation Media Group of Kenya. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. I know this is one that many people are hearing about the first time, because at a certain age, people will say, where are you going? What are you looking for? At this point, if you made it to 30, 40, 50 years in marriage, just stay there and die. But many women are saying no, that there is a second and third act of their lives that they want to live. Thank you so much for this interesting conversation. I know we'll be talking to you again sometime soon. Thank you, Dorcas.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go for a quick timeout. So when we come back, we'll just talk a little bit about the conversation we just had, and then get into probably what is one of the biggest stories in Nigeria right now. I want to say ding, ding, ding. We're entering round 4 of Senator Natasha Akpoti versus Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Stay with us.
Even as I'm talking now, Senator Buhari knows that the rule allows the senator to sit anywhere, but if you need to make contribution, you must go back to your seat. And part of maintenance of order from the presiding officer.
All right, thanks for staying with us on Jasiri. I mean, Grey and Gone literally sounds like a movie title, because honestly, women are getting up and leaving marriages despite being grey and old. We're going to have that conversation extensively on Friday, so you don't want to miss the Hot Topics conversation. But in the meantime, we did promise to bring you updates as the drama continues to unfold between Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Well, on Tuesday, news broke that Senator Akpoti has sued the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, for defamation and is demanding the sum of 103 billion naira in damages. And this follows a deleted Facebook post allegedly made by Informed Patrick, a senior legislative aide to Mr. Akpabio, after the dispute over the reassignment of her seat in the Senate chambers. The Facebook post claimed that Senator Akpoti had little understanding of legislative rules and suggested that she believed being a lawmaker was solely about, wait for it, pancaking her face and wearing transparent outfits to the chambers. The senator, who represents Kogi Central, contends that these remarks are false and were intended to ridicule her, damage her credibility, and expose her to public contempt. She now seeks a court declaration that the statements are defamatory and an order restraining further publications, along with 100 million naira monetary compensation for the damages and a 300 million for litigation charges.
Now, on the same Tuesday, the Senate launched an investigation into Senator Akpoti over her actions during last Thursday's plenary session. The matter has now been referred to the Senate's Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct, and Public Petitions. Additionally, the Senate then passed a vote of confidence on Senate President Godswill Akpabio, stating that he was only protecting the institution of the Senate. Akpabio directed the Ethics Committee to conduct a thorough investigation and submit a report within 2 weeks. The decision followed the Senate's consideration of a report presented by Senator Adeyemi Adaramodu, chairman of the Committee on Media and Public Affairs. Adaramodu noted that Senator Akpoti's actions during plenary, where she openly challenged the Senate president over the reallocation of her seat, had significantly damaged the Senate's image. He cited her interview on Berekete Family on Human Rights Radio and TV, where she further alleged that Akpabio's decision was intended to silence and intimidate her. The uproar, Adaramodu stated, led to widespread negative media coverage of the Senate, forcing him to engage multiple media outlets to explain the chamber's position. Now let's hear what the Senate President had to say about Senator Akpoti's conduct.
Even as I'm talking now, Senator Buhari knows that the rule allows the senator to sit anywhere, but if you need to make contribution, you must go back to your seat. And part of maintenance of order from the presiding officer is that where a particular senator perambulates too much around the Senate, you recognize him to speak. So most times, that senator, I won't mention the name, will have to run from here straight to his seat because he knows the rule. He knows the rule. He knows the rule that he has to speak from his seat. Even the first time the issue came up here, our distinguished sister was not even speaking from her seat. And that was when we tried to call her to order. I think part of the problem is when people come from court-declared senators, they miss the orientation. The management of the National Assembly is hereby ordered to organize periodic orientation, particularly for senators who are midstreamers, who can midstream and did not start when their colleagues started. Because I remember that this particular senator, on the day she was sworn in, raised her hand to speak. I was scared, but I had to recognize her because I was saying, you just gave her the rule book. Part of what we
is the look on the table for me. But before anybody says anything, when he was saying this is what happens when they're court senators, he was referring to the fact that in October 2023, the Court of Appeal in Abuja declared Natasha Akpoti-Odoagan of the People's Democratic Party as the duly elected candidate for the Kogi Central Senatorial election held in February 2023. We have just about 3 minutes. This story is coming back on Friday, but I needed to lay a very clear foundation. Captain, it was your face first that I saw. Don't leave me hanging now.
No, I don't say for I been a parent. I said, no, I been a toilet photo because now for say, time on down, if or no.
Yes. What Captain said, I don't know what she said. Translate.
That's it, she used toothpaste,
chewing stick,
put it in palm oil and salt and clean his teeth because the way he speaks to people is so disrespectful.
And particularly the way he speaks about her.
Exactly.
Then your aide too says that it's because she's pancaking her face and she was transparent. He has now deleted that post and deleted almost all the posts.
He should have left it then. I
knew.
was so confident.
Now I know that there is more to that, to what is happening.
The situation.
That woman must have been feeling slighted, and there must have been a lot of attacks against that person. That maybe she was out of touch. She was just trying to fight for herself. Why do women have to fight so hard? And unfortunately, when a woman is beautiful, physically appealing, the men see it like something that is in their mouth to speak of. That's when Bianca came and one of them had to say, oh, she's beautiful.
He's the same one.
It doesn't make any sense. It makes us feel like
he's the same one who said it when they
the way they were talking about her, that feels as if she's not even, she doesn't know the rules of Senate. She's just like a player.
10 seconds.
It's honestly so demeaning, and that's why I was very upset at the fact that she should have at least played by the rules, because at the end of the day,
should have a position of
at the end of the
authority.
day, you are giving them the right, because everything he kept saying was, that's what we're saying. Even when she came,
We'll get back into this. We just had a lot of conversation today that has not given us enough time to be able to get into this conversation, but it's a big one right now, and I know that throughout the rest of the day, News Central will cover any updates on it because the news broke yesterday, as well as the fact that she's now being investigated by a committee of the Senate. We gotta go. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. West African time. We have much more for you, and of course, don't forget, Hot Topic Special comes up on Friday. Have a great day. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
what do you mean by even when she came?